Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. The Royal Mint is the place in the UK where they make our coins. It's the oldest company in the UK, and coin making here can be traced back to before the times of Christianity. In fact, coin making was taking place during Roman occupation of the UK, before the UK was even thought of. Now, first of all, why do we call it the Royal Mint? Well, it's because of a temple of a Roman goddess. There was a temple of Juno Moneta, and the link between moneta and money is deeply rooted in Roman history. The Romans produced their coins in a temple dedicated to Juno Moneta, the goddess Juno in her aspect as the protector of funds. The temple of Juno Moneta was on the Capitoline Hill in Rome. I hope I've said that correctly. Capitoline Hill in Rome. And that's where coins were made. Now, over time, moneta evolved through various languages, eventually becoming mint in English. Now, this has nothing to do with the herb. It's just the way that the word evolved. Actually, the word herb comes from a different root related to Latin and Greek. But anyway, the mint was where coins were made, and that all comes from this Roman goddess associated with the protection of money. Now, our Royal Mint is very famous, as you can imagine, and for many years it was in the Tower of London. Maybe you've seen that in UK history shows, or perhaps you visited that if you were here in the UK. Now, in the 1960s, it had moved around quite a bit by that time. I think it was even in one of our movie studios during the war, in Pinewood Studios in Buckinghamshire, but it finally found a new home in the 1960s in Wales, of all places. When we think of Wales, we don't really think of major UK production. It is the home of our driving licence department, but Wales is also the place where our Royal Mint is. I'm telling you all of this because our Royal Mint has just produced a new range of coins for collectors. Now, it's very interesting because they do actually issue coins. So if you're a coin collector, they issue collector-only coins. And the post office does the same with stamps. There's the ones you can use in everyday circulation, and then there's the ones which are only for collectors, which you'll never see in your money. Having said that, though, these collectors' items, they do sometimes circulate. It's not uncommon to find, for example, a coin which is celebrating the marriage of, let's say, Charles and Diana, because it is legal. It is legal. So if it goes into circulation, somebody very quickly will see that it's worth some money and will quickly take it and try to sell it on eBay or something like that. Anyway, a new range of coins to celebrate 60 years of James Bond has just been released, and every coin shows a different scene from one of the movies of James Bond. The Royal Mint gave a statement to say it's a celebration of British culture that combines exclusive design with meticulous craftsmanship. Meticulous just means overly done, absolutely perfect. If work is done meticulously, there's no room for any mistakes. Apparently, this new range is going to be very, very popular. And the 007 logo, we never say 007, the 007 logo of the 1960s movies appears at the base. And the classic gun barrel features around the perimeter. That's the outside of the coin. Now, I have to say, I'm not a big James Bond fan, so I don't know anything about a classic gun barrel, but I do love the theme tunes of the James Bond movies. They're always very good, and many of them, I think, were, or at least a few of them, were done by Shirley Bassey. I can think of at least one of them, but I can't remember the song. I just remember that it's very, very good. Sheena Easton did one as well, didn't she? A James Bond theme. And more recently, Skyfall was done by, I think it was Adele, wasn't it? So very famous. So anyway, I rather prefer the theme tunes than I do the movies. So each collectible coin is going to be available as a gold proof, silver proof, and uncirculated editions, with prices starting from £14.50. Now, I'm not sure if that's per coin or per set. I guess it has to be for each set because they can't charge, for example, £15 for a £1 coin because they are actually legal tender. But they'll probably come in lovely fancy cases. These are going to be of the highest quality of any coin made available to collectors. Each coin apparently has been struck up to 6 times. That means that they made the coin and then they polished it again and again and again at a lower speed with less pressure to make it look all shiny and beautiful. And then every single coin is then inspected for imperfections. They're going to a lot of trouble, aren't they? I'm not quite sure who would want to buy this, but I can tell you absolutely that there are people out there who go crazy for this kind of thing. James Bond is seen as an icon of British life, so no doubt many people around the world will be rushing out to buy these. Now, I'm just looking at one of them, and this is the one where he's in a little, how can I describe this? It's a circular coin, and he's in a little aircraft, but it's not a plane. It's from the movie You Only Live Twice, and it's a plane called Little Nelly. It's strange, isn't it? How they use these kind of British names. I think Doctor Who was the same. In the 1960s, he had a car called Bessie. Yeah, I think that was John Pertwee. He was one of the Doctor Who's. And he had a really old-fashioned car. Very eccentrically British, these kind of things, aren't they? And the Royal Mail is in a place called, is it Llantrisant or Lantrisant? Welsh places always have names which are very difficult to pronounce around the rest of the UK. So do Scottish names. Very interesting. So that's it, yeah. So James Bond is going to be on some of our coins, but I very much doubt if they will reach circulation because they won't make enough of them for that. They'll only make them a limited edition collector's item. This isn't the only set of coins that they do. They did ones for the Chronicles of Narnia. That's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And of course, they were also responsible for changing the face on our coins, so that it would change from the queen to the king after the queen passed away. And yeah, they also have done some other major things. For example, they sent coins into space to honor David Bowie, whom they refer to as the Starman. I don't know if that was one of his songs. It sounds like it may have been. And they offer young people job opportunities as well as part of a scheme. Some people might argue that it's just cheap labor to take unemployed people and force them to work in government places. I know that our museums do that as well. If you're unemployed for a while, you'll just be sent to a museum with a minimum wage. So if you think that our museums are all staffed by professionals, it's not quite true, I'm afraid. And yeah, the National Health Service was celebrated in a coin this year as well. But I've never seen any of those because they don't make them into public circulation. Okay, so they stay kind of private. And yeah, they recently made one as well of Dame Shirley Bassey. I mentioned her earlier because she's the one that sang the songs for a lot of the James Bond movies in the 60s. So maybe that's where the idea came from. Um, let's see. Yes, apparently 122 million in old pound coins are still missing. Yes, because nobody wanted to use them. They replaced the old pound notes that we used to have. And they're also releasing a series of Welsh dragon coins. It's interesting, isn't it? So there we are. That's a little bit of history today about James Bond. I never really liked James Bond. I mean, he was okay, but I wouldn't be able to name many of the movies, but I love the theme tunes. Oh, the theme tunes were great, weren't they? And big hits as well. I think it was Roger Moore. Is it Shaken Not Stirred? And there was all kinds of sexual references in them. You know, Miss Moneypenny was a secretary. I think, if I remember correctly, was it? And there was a few other uh, names which were a little bit dubious, which I won't repeat here. But there we are. So that's James Bond going to be on some of our coins, but probably not ones you're going to get in the supermarket, I think. But if you're interested, you can go to the website, which is Royal Mint. I think it's, well, I'm not sure what the end part is. You can find it on Google anyway. And there we are. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Let's talk again soon. See you. Bye.